This is Austin Real Estate Investing. Austin Real Estate Investing. We'll be discussing real estate investing in Austin, Texas, and bringing you experts from all different sectors of the real estate game. Your host, Jordan Moorhead, is a real estate agent and investor in Austin and is here to help you get started or to build your portfolio and explore new strategies.
Hi, this is Austin Real Estate Investing. This is Jordan Moorhead. Today I have Jeff McKee on here, and he's going to tell us all about his experience in the Austin area with real estate investing. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Good. How's it going, Jordan?
Doing great. I know you survived this winter storm we had here last week, so we are recording this on the 26th of February, 2021. We just went through a very odd time for Austin. We had a winter storm where we had snow and ice and all sorts of winter troubles that Austin's just not used to, and glad we're out of it now.
Yeah. The polar vortex hit us hard here in Austin.
It usually doesn't too, so it's a funny thing that got all the way down here.
Yeah. I lived in Michigan for a little while, so we're used to that. But this area of the country isn't super prepared for some of these harsh storms that come through occasionally.
No, that's part of the reason I love Austin is, no matter what, it's usually pretty warm out, and it's a big surprise to get a polar vortex here.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jeff, could you tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you're involved with the Austin real estate investing area?
You bet. Yeah. So I work for a technology company. So been in high tech for about 30 years. And then it was around 2016 that I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Then I started getting involved here in Austin with a kind of a single family group, education mentoring group. And so we started on the single family side, and then we did the buy and hold strategy. So we bought a duplex in Waco outside of Austin because my wife, son and I all went to Baylor. So we did that. Oh, cool. Then locally, we did a flip in East Austin with a partner. So that's one of the things I encourage people. It's just to partner up. We did a real simple, joint venture agreement on this one house. So it's a single, JV agreement with one house. We had the money, our partner had the experience. So you want to align with people that you have maybe different skill sets. So she had flipped a lot of houses in East Austin. We hadn't. We had money. She needed some capital. So we financed the whole thing. And so we did really well with that. And then also with this single family group, we learned about the homestead strategy, which I guess I was aware of. I just hadn't implemented it. So we ended up buying a lot here in South Austin in the Zilker Park neighborhood. From a wholesaler. It came on the market the same day it came on. I knew it was a great deal, put the deposit down, locked up the property. We ended up building 2 houses on this lot, and we moved into the main house in July of 20. And then the back house is an accessory dwelling unit, 1,100 square feet is as big as they can be, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. And then that's an approved short-term rental in the city of Austin because we live on the lot. And so that my wife manages that as an Airbnb. So that was all the single family stuff we've been doing kind of locally. I've also lent money as a hard money lender locally. And I've also invested in a hard money fund that helps flippers here in Austin. So I'm still an investor in that fund. So those are all the things that we did early on. Then eventually I started doing more stuff in apartment investing.
Awesome. So yeah, you've had a fairly full 4 years here too. So I started around the same time. I started in December of 2016. But yeah, no, you've done the flip in East Austin, which you basically funded that, but were part of that project. And I think a lot of people fail to see all the benefits of doing that because there's so many ways you can get involved and learn so much. And I'm sure you still made some money too doing that.
Yeah. So the numbers were like, we paid $250,000 for a wholesaler. This house had gone to probate. There were multiple people involved that basically needed to get paid off. So we basically paid $250,000. So we financed that. Then the rehab was another $70,000. Now, The reason it was, I don't know if you would call that expensive, but one thing that investors sometimes shy away from, especially in Texas, are the foundation issues. So this was a known foundation issue house. Some investors said, geez, I'm not dealing with foundation, just like they don't deal with mold. But then there's other investors, like our partner was very familiar with the foundation. She actually lives in the same neighborhood as this flip. She knows all about it. She's done it many times. She has a company that provided a bid and it was like $15,000 to do the foundation. And we actually went in there while they're in the middle of doing the foundation repairs. Now, one minor thing that came up during that is it was off by so much. When the foundation got adjusted, the roof buckled more than we expected. So that was like an extra $2,000 to redo that section of the roof. It was pretty minor. So paid $250, $70,000 all in. So we're in at $320 and we sold at $420.
Nice.
And so after all the holding costs, after all of that, we basically had a net profit before taxes of $40,000. Our partner got $20,000, and then we had created an LLC, and so our LLC got $20,000. Then that $20,000 gain is a short-term gain, which is a whole nother topic about the pros and cons of flipping. And so we actually offset that gain with some expenses that our LLC incurred around the education expense of this kind of single family mentoring group here in Austin. So there's some things that you can do, but it's partnering, getting with the experienced people, having a bit of capital or partnering with people with capital. So there's all those things that we learned, through the process.
Yeah, and you talked about, not being scared of certain issues that scare people. So I did mold remediation in college, and I learned all about mold by tearing a lot of it out and cleaning a lot of it up. I'm not really scared of mold, but you talked about foundation issues too. There's tons of foundation issues around town here. Some of them are big, some of them really aren't. And even the one you did where you had to adjust it so much that it buckled the roof a little bit, you clearly were able to fix that relatively cheaply. $2,000 isn't too bad.
Yeah. And it was just where the seam met on the roof that it buckled so much we had to have that section repaired. But in the big scheme of things, it was pretty minor. There was some sewage pipe issues in the main line to the street that came up, and replacing the hot water heater we hadn't anticipated. So we had contingency of like 10%, on that. So we ate through some of that $7,000 of contingency on the $70,000. But those are the kind of things that you factor in when you're looking at, what's the after repair value, what are the cost estimates, getting bids ahead of time, and so you kind of expect some of the unexpected, but you also have maybe enough experience among the team members that you can mitigate some of that risk.
Yeah, and you talked about something I think is really important. You need to have a little budget there for contingency. People are going to bid what they can see, and like you said, other things could come up. So you could have sewer line issues, you could have roof issues, you could have water heater issues. There's all sorts of stuff. The water heater might be working right now, but 6 months into the job or 6 months into the hold, it might not be. Something I think a lot of people fail to see is nobody replaces their water heater, furnace, or air conditioner until it goes out.
Yeah.
So you're not going to run into something where, it was 10 years old as a water heater, so we just replaced it. I would never do that.
Right.
I just had a water heater go out, and it was over the weekend, unfortunately, and we couldn't get a plumber in real quickly, but we got one in a couple days later, and of course the tenants were upset, but I'm not going to replace it. It was 21 years old.
Yeah.
I'm not going to replace it until it breaks, which it did, and we replaced it as soon as we could.
Exactly.
So always have a contingency budget in there when you're doing renovations. I think 10% is a good place to be.
Yeah.
Stuff is going to come up. It always does. I've never had a project that didn't have more come up.
Right. And then especially the longer the project is, like if you're doing new construction, there's some variables like the price of material, like what's going on with lumber and what's going on with governments and some of the tariffs and things that get added, as well as just supply and demand. So you may have, like the tankless hot water heater spike because of, the recent cold snap, and everybody's having to replace their external hot water heaters. And so then all of a sudden the parts become more expensive. And so you need some of that buffer, some of that contingency, whether it's that or whether it's labor shortage, and then the price of labor goes up more than you forecasted. And so the longer the project is, the more you have to factor in some of that contingency. So the flip was a fairly short, it was like a 4-month flip because we did the foundation. Nice. So it wasn't super long, but like the build on the house that we're in now in South Austin, that was like an 18-month project.
Oh, wow. Yeah, those can take a while. And then something like COVID happens too, and all the supply chain gets shut down and slowed down, and prices jump up, and it takes way longer to get anything. Try getting the stove delivered the next day right now. It typically takes a few weeks because the supply chain's so messed up.
Exactly. Yeah. All the interruption in all the shipping that's been going on around the U.S. because of the storm.
Yeah. The storm, COVID, all sorts of stuff. So you said you do some short-term rental right now too. We haven't talked about that a lot on this podcast. What has been your experience with short-term rentals during COVID?
You know, I don't know if you call it fortunate, but I know the short-term rental folks here in Austin took a pretty big hit about a year ago in February of 2020, March of 2020, because we were watching it because our house wasn't ready yet. And so then the house was ready in July, but then you have to submit to the city of Austin a short-term rental application that takes them many weeks to review and approve. So when we finally got that application approved and we could technically have short-term renters in there, it was probably October 1st of 2020. And then from October 1st, we were already kind of coming out of some of the COVID issues where people didn't want to stay in hotels. They wanted to be close to a city like here in South Austin, but they actually wanted to be away from other people. And so having a separate house with its own entrance, was in high demand. So we probably had 95% occupancy in that since October. So and this is a fairly high average daily rate. Like during the week, we rent it out for $200 a night, and the weekend it's $275 a night. So but it's a brand new house, right? Everything's new, and and it's fully fenced, and we allow pets. We're fairly flexible on stuff like that. But so yeah, we've been pretty fortunate. And then we became Superhost, which is having like 10 5-star reviews in a row. Then you can get Superhost, and then you get like a higher ranking. So we've been fortunate. That may not be the same, obviously, with all the short-term rental people. Like if people are doing short-term rental on a high-rise, maybe in downtown Austin, they could be more difficult because some people don't want to press the button from the garage to the main floor, from the main floor up to the unit, and deal with a lot of people in a tightly confined area. And then if not, a lot of things are open downtown. The short-term rental downtown probably took a little bit of a hit. Out here a little bit further, and in a whole house, it seems to be doing pretty well.
That's awesome. So you mentioned the short-term rental license here too. I know a lot of people think, Airbnb, great idea in Austin. There's obviously some hoops to jump through to get that done. Can you talk about what you had to do there? I know it's not a lot when you live there.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was 2016 or 2017, Austin, the city of Austin, outlawed, basically made it illegal to have a house or a residence that you're renting out as a short-term rental, which is 28 days or less, unless you live on the property. All right. And so there were like 10,000 Airbnb listings at one time, 2016, 2017. They felt as though 1,000 of the 10,000 were actually people that lived on site. So they made it a requirement. There was a grandfather period for a short period of time. So then what happened was a lot of people, like say around South Congress, super popular area. I have a buddy, he and his brother owned 2 houses that were short-term rental. Well, they had to flip them to long-term rental because they didn't live on the property. And so because we know the regulations, we were able to build this accessory dwelling unit guest house in the back. And then we applied, and as our homestead, then they verified this is our homestead. So then they approved us. And so then you pay like a $500 a year fee to the city of Austin to basically have your short-term rental application, and you're legal with them. Then you also have to pay like a 10% hotel tax on all of those rentals that are 28 days or less. Now, if someone stayed for 30 days, 60 days, then that doesn't apply on the 10% hotel occupancy tax. It's just if it's 28 days or less, which in many cases, but we've had people stay here for 5 and 6 weeks at a time. And it's not just your normal 2-night, 3-night. We've had people stay coming from California, from New York, from other parts of Texas, and they've just stayed for a long time. So we've been pretty fortunate. So, and then there's other rules from an IRS perspective around if you can count those hours managing your short-term rental towards your real estate professional license. There's different rules around that. But the city of Austin is basically a $500 a year annual fee. You have to live on the property. And then you have to pay the 10% quarterly of the revenues as a hotel occupancy tax. You have to pay the city.
Yeah. So anybody listening, you need to take that into account when you're thinking Airbnb. So, like Jeff's saying here, if you live on the property, it's fairly easy to get a short-term rental license, and it can be profitable, but count that 10% hotel tax, and count that $500 yearly fee and just make sure it's going to work. The same way you'd make sure a long-term rental is going to work.
Yeah. And then there's if people are wanting to invest in the city of Austin and they don't live on the property, then there's also a market called medium term rentals, right? Which are more than 30 days. So 30 days or more and say less than a year as medium term. Like an example is like a website you can go to called Furnish Finders. So Furnish Finders are for, like, say, traveling nurses. The nurses usually have 13-week assignments, and maybe they're coming to Del Children or whatever. They're coming to Austin for 13 weeks. Well, then they look at sites like Furnish Finder, and they look at Copa is another popular medium-term rental site. And so that's another way people can invest in the city of Austin, but not and have it not qualify as a short-term rental, but they could do medium-term rental, and those rates are higher than the annual rental that you would normally get for a 12-month lease. So that's another angle that we were going to go if we ran into a hiccup with the city of Austin on the short-term rental application. Our backup plan was to go the medium-term rental route.
Yeah, corporate housing by owner is another cool one.
Okay,
there's a lot of cool. That's something I like to do, and I've done in the past, is medium-term rentals. Not because of the 10% tax, but more because of it's easier to manage those people. They really live there for a month or two, and they act as if it's just their house they're living in.
Yeah. It's been a good experience for us, meeting the people from different parts of the country and stuff. And during COVID, they appreciate, having everything separate. They have their own carport, their own, kind of sidewalk and entrance. And so it can be very private for them. And then they're just in walking distance is Oakbrook Park and all the cool things we have around here.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, we have so many people moving here from California or New York that really need somewhere to hang out and stay for a few months while they find their place to live, and really when they get to know the city. So you can capitalize on that if you're doing it right.
Yeah. Oh, and then speaking of, just the Austin market and how hot it is, one of the couples that stayed here was from San Francisco. They had sold their house in San Francisco, traveling around the U.S. They had been to multiple states before Austin. And then they liked Austin so much and staying around here that after their 6 weeks was up with us, they went to another rental on Lake Travis. But then they put in an offer on a house somewhere over here, and it was a $1 million listing. California people, that's nothing. So they put in an offer for $1 million. They said that the agent called them back 2 days later. That was the first weekend it was open, and they had 3 offers at $1.2 million from other people, and they weren't willing to raise their offer from $1 million to 1.2 or 1.3. But anyway, so they just had it's just crazy times in Austin on some of the single family homes. And then they said, then it starts to get more like the San Francisco prices a little bit when, the asking price and then, the actual offers are 20 to 30% above the list.
Yeah, 20 to 30% above the list. And then you've got to waive the appraisal, and then you have to have a really short option period. It's just gotten very competitive. There's ways to win, but
right.
You've got to be willing to take that leap.
And then I think the owner lease back too. So some of the people, because there aren't that many places for people to go if they do sell their house, so they want a 14-day or a 1 month lease back, in addition to the quick close.
That's actually helped us win a few. We allowed a guy to stay 30 days in the house for $1.
Yeah,
and he loved that. He took our offer, which was $25,000 less than the next highest offer, because he could just stay there and he didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to pay the utilities. So he really liked it. It saved my buyer $25,000. So I can't complain.
Yeah, for sure. And that you got to be flexible and creative in these kind of times when, the months of supply are getting to be less than a month,
0.4 months right now is the most recent.
That's crazy.
And less than 2 weeks now. It's pretty tight. But, and I keep saying this over and over, people are probably getting tired of hearing me say it, the number of houses being sold is actually up quite a lot. So while there's not a lot for sale at any certain time, the number sold is up year over year quite a lot.
Yeah.
So almost 40% compared to last year. So they're being sold. They're just being sold very quickly and over asking price.
Yeah.
The dollar volume is another metric that's up a tremendous amount.
Yeah. And so the houses that we built was part of that homestead strategy. So we need to stay in the main house for at least 2 years. You have to be in it 2 of 5 years for it to count as your homestead, and you get the $500,000 exclusion. So we're on track with that for July of 22. Then the back house, after 1 year and a day, it can be considered a long-term capital gain because it's an investment property. I doubt we're going to sell it this summer. We're probably just going to sell them as a package deal. But we did we paid extra to run separate utilities to the back house so it can be sold separately. Then we just went through the condo regime where we replatted and redid the survey. So they're technically two different pieces of property so that we could get debt and the right leverage on each one of those. So so that's some of the stuff we've been doing.
Awesome. So I really like that. So you took one lot and technically you turned it, while you're in it, you turn the back part of it into income generating to make your monthly payment a lot less. And now you've separated them to the point where you can sell off in a year, you can sell off the back house, keep living in the front house and profit from that. And then a year later, sell off the front house and have all that tax-free money.
Exactly. And then the back house, you have different options. You know, you have the 1031 exchange where it's tax deferred if you roll it into another asset, another piece of real estate, for example. So we could go down that path, but we've also talked to our CPA and he's going, Will, you know, with the cost segregation and bonus depreciation tax benefits we have today, sometimes it's better just to take that tax hit, invest it in some other property that you get depreciation from, and you can offset that right away without doing the 1031 tax deferred exchange. So we haven't decided what we're going to do, but you know, the cost segregation bonus depreciation starts phasing out in 2023. It goes to 80% and then 60. So it's still, you know, in effect for all of 2021, all of 2022. And so we'll wait and see on what we do with the investment house.
Yeah. No, that's a great strategy. You just took somewhere you had to live and made it into a bunch of different options for you. And I really like that. I think everybody can use their homestead as a form of an investment. So
exactly.
You're doing technically the house hacking strategy. You're also doing the live in for 2 years, pay no taxes strategy. So kind of like a live in flip almost, because the market's so crazy right now.
Yeah.
And then you're also doing the development strategy where you buy a lot and you make 2 houses on that lot. You've done a lot of different stuff with it.
Yeah. It's pretty wild that we're actually developers. You know, we had the big sign out front during construction. And so it had us as the developer and then with builder and architect, interior designer. And we're looking at doing the same thing again, you know, because it takes so long to do this that we're in the process now of evaluating houses and lots in our same Zilker area. But instead of $500,000, it may cost us $800,000 or $900,000 to go buy that tear down and then do this whole thing again, because it takes a while for the city to give you the permit to allow the tear down or for someone to take the house off the lot and relocate it. There's all that stuff, but the lead time is so long that we're basically like 18 months away from selling these 2 houses, and it takes that long to build two more houses somewhere else around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I really like that too, because at the same time you're improving the neighborhood. You're building nice new houses in the neighborhood, and I live in East Austin, and so much contrast between the brand new house here and the 40s or 50s house here. And you know, somebody comes in and buys this 40s house and raises it and puts 2 new 2021 build houses there, and the neighborhood just has a whole different feel after you do that. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we won't go down.
This was a 1945s bungalow with the roof caving in. Easily the worst house in this whole neighborhood. The gentleman had passed away without a will. Eventually, the wholesaler stepped in, and anyway, so it was easily the worst house in the neighborhood. And now you got some really nice looking, you know, basically modern. Urban farmhouse looking homes right here, you know, with the nice metal roofs and all that kind of stuff, you know, that look really cool.
So you mentioned something else about a hard money lending fund too. Could you talk a little bit about what that is and what that does and how you're involved with it?
Yeah, sure. So it's called Hornet Capital. They're based here in Austin. They basically lend money out to those people doing fix and flips. They do some of their own. And then there's 2 class of shares. There's an A class, which is basically a flat return of like 8%. And then there's a B share class, which is a variable return, but you also have more upside. And so Hornet Capital is one of the companies here in Austin that, we've had good success with on that investment. And then, I've invested separately in a self-directed IRA, and you basically will help another flipper fund the whole thing, the purchase of the house and all the renovations. And then you can structure it however you want. You could do points, you could do interest only paid at closing, all different ways depending on what you want to have happen. But so we've done both.
Awesome, that's really cool. Yeah, and also a great way to get money for flipping, if you've got a project like that, or if you have a real weird creative project that needs to be picked up and renovated and refinanced, hard money lending is a great way to go. It sounds like Hornet Capital is a great one to reach out to.
Yeah, for sure.
Just understand what you're doing when you're taking out those loans, because like Jeff said, there's points. The interest is typically a bit higher than what you're going to get on a long-term loan.
Yeah.
And if you mess up and take too long, they can absolutely take that property from you.
Yeah. And then you can also structure the agreement to where if you think the flip's going to take 6 months, that if you miss the 6 months, that each month after that, you might pay a little bit of a point. So like, we had it, if you miss the 6 month, then you basically owe another 1 percentage point on the original loan for the next 60 days. And you could do another point for the next 60 days. There's ways to structure it so that you don't, as a borrower, that you don't go into default. But obviously, if it stretches along like 2 times what the original timeline was, then you could reach the point of being in default, even if you, if you eat up your extensions.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those where, the proposed term is 6 months, but they've got up until 12 to get it done, just with penalties. And they can be great. Absolutely can be a great way to fund projects you've got that are a little more creative, but
right,
you just need to understand what you're getting into.
Yeah.
So Jeff, why do you choose to keep investing in Austin? I know it's so hot, everything's crazy. You're finding ways to do it. And I think that's an important thing too, but I just want to hear it in your words. Why do you choose to invest here?
Yeah. Well, like if you look at the research on capital cities, because of the government that we have in capital cities across the U.S., there isn't as much of a huge spike in terms of unemployment and things like that. So it's a little bit more even. So the city of Austin generally is a good place to invest. Then obviously, as a lot of the listeners have heard, you got the Samsung expansion. You've got, the Cybertruck factory with Tesla. Mm-hmm. You've got the Oracle relocating, headquarters. They've already built, big buildings along, Riverside over there. You've got Apple expanding, 15,000 employees. And actually our daughter is one of their new employees. So she's working on Siri as a Spanish translator to make Siri better. And so she got hired by Apple a couple months ago. She works out of the house here with us in South Austin. And so just massive amount of employers. And then those big employers have, I think, like for every job that, an Apple, a Samsung, an Oracle, a Tesla create, there's like 8 other jobs that come with that. So it's not just those primary jobs, it's all the other jobs that support. And so I think, just the job growth in the city of Austin and surrounding areas is just huge, along with the stability of University of Texas, with the state government certainly helps Austin, keep from the highs and the lows.
Hey guys, this is Jordan Moorhead here, and I wanted to ask if you could do a huge favor for me. If you could go leave a review for this podcast wherever you're listening to it, that would really help me get this into the hands of other people that are interested in information about Austin real estate investing, and I'd be able to help more people. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, and I think you brought up 2 great points I want to talk about. So the one is, you say for the one job, there's 8 jobs. People don't talk about that a lot of times. So they say, Tesla is going to create 500 jobs here. Yeah, but that actually creates several thousand other jobs that have to support that company and support those employees and help all those people. It's not just those jobs coming in. Yeah. And then you talked a lot about what the growth in Austin and what you're doing. And I think I hear from a lot of people, investing doesn't work in Austin. And absolutely not. That's just the investing you're trying to do might be really hard in Austin. There's always other options. So flipping or developing can work great. Flipping might be a little hard, but developing can work phenomenally. Doing what you've done, there's lots of people looking to buy nice houses in nice areas. And if you can build a nice product and sell it, there's a huge amount of buyers for that. So if you're developing, you're in a great spot. If you're trying to buy single family rentals that are going to cash flow, probably not the best spot. But there's not only one way to invest in real estate. I think a lot of times people say, this just doesn't work in my market. It's like, nope, that one little sector you're talking about may not work very easily in your market, but something like house hacking works really well in Austin because, even what you're doing, I would call house hacking. And you can save a ton of money to live in a phenomenal location that you really enjoy and also have a lot of upside on the other end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can't just say, oh, this one thing doesn't work.
Right. And then the classic house hacking is what our son is about to do. So he's got an offer in on a fourplex,
Nice.
78704, just south of us. So he's going to live in one of the four and rent out the other three that are already rented out. He's buying it from another investor. And so then, and then you'll get the FHA loan, 3.5% down, stay in it for a year. Then, he could just bring another renter in and then go do that again somewhere else. So anyway, there's the classic house hacking of a duplex or a fourplex. And then there's the homestead strategy and the kind of the live-in flip, like what you're talking about. So depending on someone's personal situation, they might need to be in a great school district somewhere else. But there could be the situation where, they want to maybe move into Eanes ISD. And because of the way the homestead strategy works, you can pay a little bit more when you're going to live in that property than if you're truly a flip investor where it's 70%, of the after repair value, all that kind of stuff. And so you can pay a little bit more if it's going to be your homestead. If you have that flexibility, then you can live in it 2 or 5 years, and then you get that $500,000 exclusion of taxes as a couple. So that's just another strategy people could look into if they want to be a little bit more aggressive on how they do their homestead.
Absolutely. There's a right strategy for every market and every person, and that will fit your assets and your resources really well. But don't just be so closed-minded that you're only looking at one thing that you heard on a podcast from 2014 and say, oh, well, I heard this on this podcast and I can't do this here. Yep. But find people in your local market like you that are doing stuff and making it work. And like your son and I, which are house hacking multifamily property. Yeah. Absolutely. There's a strategy that's going to work in your market. I know people in Denver and San Francisco that are adding other units to basements of houses, and they're making that work great. Everybody you talk to would say you can't invest in San Francisco, but I know people that are.
Yeah. I've got a cousin that lives in San Francisco, same apartment building for 20 years. And the landlord is basically building a basement to add 2 more units. So she's displaced for like a year while they're doing that, and so they're just going down instead of going up. And so, certain markets, you can do that.
I hadn't heard that one, but there's always a strategy that works. So don't be so set on one strategy. I think my advice for people is don't be set on one strategy that you ignore everything that may be working in your local market. But once you pick something that's interesting to you, that sounds good, stick with that strategy and push forward until you make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Jeff, you said you were in the tech industry for quite a while. What attracted you to real estate investing?
I think it was, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's the whole multiple streams of income is what, we've been trying to develop is not just having, 1 or 2 W-2 income jobs, but really trying to have this passive income, the mailbox money come in. And so then we did the single family thing for a period of time here in Austin. Then we also migrated over to multifamily in terms of apartment syndication. So then we joined a couple different groups in Texas over the last couple of years where we've invested as limited partners in deals in Dallas and San Antonio, obviously looking in Austin as well to find a deal. And then we've been becoming more active. And so we've been lead general partners on 5 deals in the last few months. Yeah, so we've closed a deal in Arkansas in December, closed a deal in Alabama last month. And then we have deals that we're about to close in Lubbock, Lafayette, Louisiana, and in North Carolina. And so we've been more active on that to create those multiple streams of income and just have that set up. And so my wife, quit her paralegal job last year to focus on real estate. Initially, it's been the short-term rentals, but she's also been going out to some of these big apartment complexes that we're part of and doing the due diligence on site, walking the units with our teams there. And so she's had the flexibility to go do that, as well as, meet with brokers and go walk prospective apartment complexes that we're looking at buying.
Awesome. So your whole family's in the game now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Our daughter's focused on Apple. Our other son is focused on his job, but he's come to some real estate conferences with us. But we've got the one son who's a consultant, and so he's been doing a lot of the underwriting and some of the asset management, talking to the property management companies weekly on the deals that we've already closed on. And so he's been getting involved in that part of the business too. He's got a real estate background. He actually did an internship with Gina Ront and Keller Williams, up in Steiner Ranch several years ago. But he got a real estate degree from Baylor, and then he got to know Gary Keller. And so then Gary hooked him up with Gene to do a stint on the real estate internship side up there. And so he's got the bug, and then he's been focused on commercial real estate lately, but also doing the fourplex in South Austin.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I also am a big fan of real estate and multiple streams of income. And I think, you got to get it through your head that it's just taking lots of small steps, and it just all starts to build on top of each other. And eventually, you're way further than you ever would have imagined you'd be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then we have a goal of like to help 1,000 friends and family, achieve financial freedom through passive investing. And so that's kind of one of the things is, through education and just helping people understand what this whole world is about. Obviously, we have a lot of, single family experience too. And so we talk to people about how we've done some of the strategies and implemented that. And then on the multifamily, what we've been doing. And it depends, like you were saying earlier, people are at different phases of their life and what their strategies are. And then, we just try and educate people on what we've learned and how we've implemented certain things and what we've learned along the way.
Yeah, I like that too. There's no limit to where you can go, but there might be a right place for you to start depending on what you've got and what you're able to do at that point in time. I know I started with a little over $6,000, so I certainly wasn't investing in apartment syndication at that point in time.
Yeah.
But, after a few years, I've been able to do apartment syndications, buy my own small apartments, continue to house hack and save money. There's all different ways you can do it. You just got to start somewhere and keep moving forward.
Exactly. And then like the flipping is a way to generate some cash. And then you could use that to invest in more long-term things that provide you money over time, the quarterly payments for passive. So there's different ways, that you can do it with a limited amount of funds up front and look at how you want to do that investing and what matches where you're at in your phase and your income level, how much savings you have and where you want to go. But there's all kinds of things you can do in real estate, single family, multifamily to generate that capital that you need and then partner with other people that have the capital too,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you talked a little bit about savings there. I think it's really important to learn how to manage your money and how to manage money when you're making money. So you still have profit left to save to invest later. A lot of people, I grew up in an area where a lot of people had a lot of money, but nobody really had any money at any certain time. So it's easy to have a lot coming in and have a leaky pail there where it's all just gone at the end of the month.
Yeah. The related to that is like just paying federal taxes, right? Yeah. It's like, wow, it's just amazing when I look back at my career, how much I paid in federal taxes. And the last, maybe 24 months, I've been focused on how do I pay zero federal taxes legally, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like this cost segregation, bonus depreciation, or the 1031 tax deferred exchange, all those kinds of things, right? Like how could you, invest in an asset like say real estate, and you have these like non-cash depreciation losses that would offset any income you're getting that year. It's like, oh, well, that's cool. And then with my wife becoming a real estate professional in 2020, then that means our federal taxes paid, we can offset some or all of that against all the depreciation losses on real estate, including doing the cost segregation on the investment property in the back house. So we hired an engineering company in December, did the cost segregation study. So all of that material other than the land, you can pull forward the 5 and 15-year values of that to year one. And that's the bonus depreciation that we can use that loss to offset our income in 2020. So those kinds of things. But, we paid a lot of money to hire great teams of people to help us between CPAs and lawyers and et cetera. So I just encourage people to go hire some great team members to help you with your strategy and then to take action, right? It's one of the things to listen to great podcasts like this, to read lots of books, but you at some point need to take action on your strategy. Yeah. And that's one of the things we've been successful with is, there's some risk involved, like, buying a $500,000 tear down and having a big loan and hoping everything goes well. But there's a little bit of risk that you take on some of things or the fix and flip, like you're not always sure what you're going to find, from the foundation issues on up. And so, but there's a little bit of risk involved. It's just calculated risk. Having partners to help you assess the right risk but basically, taking action on this journey.
Absolutely. There's so many resources out there now where you can help mitigate a lot of these risks that you have with anything. There's risks in anything. There's risks in investing in the stock market, investing in real estate. There's risks in saving your money. The risk your money's not worth much after a few years here. So just make sure you understand what you're doing, and there's lots of resources to help figure that out.
Yeah, you're losing out to inflation if you're putting it in a savings account today, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of theories about inflation here in the coming years. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jeff, sounds like you've been involved in a lot of different types of deals. Is there any piece of advice you could give people on investing in real estate, on what to avoid or how to avoid a possible bad deal?
Yeah, I would say, like I mentioned before, having a good team of people. Like I almost invested in a deal that I could have been burned by this deal, but on the advice of my wife, I went to our lawyer, our real estate lawyer, had him look at the contract, and he explained it. He did some due diligence on the people involved, and so I ended up not doing that deal, and that might have saved $100,000. So there was that. I think just understanding, like from a renter perspective, like we believe in like third-party property management for like our long-term buy and hold rentals or for multifamily real estate. And so I would say, look for companies that manage those kind of rentals, whether it's a duplex, a fourplex, a single family home. Because we've used companies locally that specialize in that. Obviously, when you're dealing with 100 or 200 or 300 unit, it's a different type of property management company. But like in my opinion, I'm just super busy with a W-2 job during the day. And so we hire out some of these activities to team members like third-party property management. So I would encourage people to check on that, and just to make sure other people review the contracts so that you don't get burned. And then I would just say, do more due diligence on the people that you're potentially partnering with, whether it's a joint venture, whether you're outsourcing to a general contractor. Do some of the due diligence, follow up on the references. Look at some of the deals they've developed. So if they say they've done a great job on accessory dwelling units and main houses in Austin, go look at some of those properties. Ask those contractor questions about how they're treated by the general contractor. And so, those were some of the things to help prevent, let's say newer investors from getting burned. It's to ask others for advice, we brought in more experienced people than us to walk through houses with us to say, hey, what do you think the rehab cost is going to be? Do you think this is a good deal? And some deals we passed on because we brought in more knowledgeable people. So we didn't go down a path that seemed good to us being fairly new. And we brought in experienced people to go, oh yeah, you don't want a deal. Here's the 3 issues with this house that could cost you more than you could possibly make on this flip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you brought up a few good points here. So having somebody review contracts is really important. If you're not an expert in contracts and you're looking to sign on with a partner or just buy a certain property, you need somebody who's an expert to review that. But yeah, the biggest one I think you talked about there is bringing in somebody reputable to verify rehab costs. I can't tell you how many deals I see where somebody says, oh, it's going to be 20 grand to rehab this. And I've seen that exact type of rehab done. I said, no, that's going to be 60 grand to rehab that. There's no way. I don't know if 20 grand wouldn't even cover the materials in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So, and when you're hiring contractors, get a few referrals, check out their past projects, check a couple people who they've worked with. I did that exact thing when I hired my last contractor, and I've had a great experience with him. I saw his projects. I saw what he'd done. I talked to people he'd worked for. He seemed like a great guy, and it gave him the benefit of the doubt that I want to verify.
Right. Yeah. The other thing is too, like if you're doing the developer new construction route, it's one thing to say, hey, what's the price per square foot to build this? It's another thing to say, what's the soft cost related to all the permitting, all the architecture, all the upfront, the demo costs? What are those? And then what's the general contractor fee? Like, I'm not going to manage this stuff myself. I know some people that are good and they can do that, but I'm going to pay a general contractor to manage everything. Well, what's that fee, right? Is it a percentage? Is it a fixed fee? And what are the terms with that? So you've got to factor all of that in when you come up with your total cost. And so some of that stuff I learned along the way. There wasn't like a great book or some blog I can read. And I didn't get burned, very badly. But, it's one of those things, bringing in expert people, asking all the right questions, coming up with a total budget estimate and factoring all of that in, because you could easily, gloss over, oh, I didn't know the GC fee was 15 or 20% of the total. And then are they making money off of the materials, or is it the cost plus? What does that look like? So all of those things, I think bringing experienced people in to help you and mentor you, to look over your shoulder, to review the contracts, to review the budgets, and to ask all of those questions, along with you doing some of your own due diligence, will help save people money. But yeah, I would encourage them to basically, take action, but you do need to be educated and have a right team around you, so you don't make a large mistake on some of these deals.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about materials versus labor there too, and the contractor's margins. I didn't learn all that stuff for a few years after doing multiple projects with multiple contractors, where I started pricing out the materials and saying, oh, well, this window's $150 and you're charging me $550 to put it in. Where's the labor here? How long does that take you? And the more you do due diligence on that stuff, and good professionals aren't going to mind you asking those questions because they feel okay with the bids they're giving you.
Yeah.
But if the material's $200 and you're getting charged $400 to install it, you need to understand why. Maybe it does take 6 hours to install. You don't know that.
Yeah.
But it might not. You might not need a permit, and they might say, oh, I got to do all this and that. And you really need to figure those things out before you start doing these bigger jobs and paying people, or like you said, find somebody who knows that stuff and can come in and tell you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really important. Awesome, Jeff. So I think we've covered a lot here. Is there any specific advice you'd give to investors? Like one thing you think newer investors should know before they get started?
I would say self-education is key, and surrounding yourself with knowledgeable team members. And for some people, that may mean signing up and joining maybe local real estate investment groups, joining other mentoring groups. It may cost a little bit of money up front, but it could make you a lot more money down the road. So those would be some of the areas, that I think I've learned from over the last, 4+ years of trying to ramp up, real estate pretty quickly. And then I think, when you have a good deal, oftentimes you will find the money from others. So that's where taking action. So even though you may not have the down payment or enough money to do the rehab, there's plenty of money out there from others. So kind of using other people's money is a great strategy, within reason, right? You got to be careful of the debt.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. Focus on finding good deals, and you're not going to have any problem finding the money for it. If you're a part of, let's say, the Investor Underground here in Austin, if you find a good deal and you post it on the Investor Underground, you're going to find the money for it.
Exactly.
No problem.
Yeah. And then people are willing to negotiate on, hey, what's the split? Maybe you start at 50-50, you end at 60-40 on either. And so there's all kinds of people are wanting to deploy money. It's this whole recycling their money and the velocity of money. They want to keep it in the market. They want to help other people. So, we've helped other flippers here in Austin. And so I think, for those good deals, there's always capital out there that you can find. And then you kind of refinance into permanent financing after you get done with that rehab phase.
Yeah. No, I think that was something I was on a slight tirade about recently, even, was that I don't need money. People call me all the time and say, hey, I've got this money. Can I invest with you? I don't need money. I need deals. If you've got a good deal, call me. But I'm not in a position right now where my problem is finding money. I'm able to find the money really easily. It's the deals that are harder to find.
Right.
So, you go out, find the deals. I think that's the best thing you could do.
For sure.
All right. What's your best advice for people looking to invest in Austin? So maybe they're investing passively. Maybe they're just looking to do more active, like what you're doing too.
Yeah.
What's your best advice there?
I think it's depending on their level of sophistication. There's a strategy, that's called subject to, and it's basically before there's a short sale on a property where there's a borrower in a single family home in the Austin area that is maybe in forbearance. They're not able to make their mortgage payment, but they're also not being evicted because of the laws we have in place right now, regulation. And so one strategy for a more savvy investor could be looking at the subject to, basically, catching up on the payments, and then having that person move out, but they still stay on the loan and you bring in renters. So, that's one strategy. I think, the development, especially on these infield lots in the city of Austin, East Austin, I think, the land obviously is only going to get more expensive. And so I think partnering with other people that know what they're doing to come buy, some of these infield lots and to do the development. For some people, that would be a good strategy. And for others, you may find some affordable areas where they can afford a down payment and then turn that into a long-term rental house and have some cash flow, and then also a benefit from the appreciation of that. And so some people are more comfortable, with that. And then there's different types. Some could be turnkey, where some flippers already done that, so they might pay a little bit more retail, or there could be a wholesale opportunity where they get on wholesaler lists and then they work with people to rehab the house and then put renters in. So yeah, there's a few things, that people could use here in the city of Austin, depending on their experience level and their network. But yeah, Investor Underground is a good one, and some of the Austin Real Estate Investor Association. There's other good groups out there to go reach out to and to partner. I would just say, look for experienced people to partner with, and then work on your overall strategy, and then go execute that.
Yeah. And you mentioned the meetup groups and stuff. There's lots more of those. We're February 2021 here right now, still dealing with coronavirus stuff, but people are starting to meet in person. And when you're looking to partner with someone, you guys said, hey, we've got the money. I know you've got the deal, want to do the deal. Figure out what you can offer to somebody if you're looking to partner. Maybe you have the money, you offer the money. Maybe you've got the deal, you say, hey, I've got this great deal. I need money to fund it. So just figure out what you can offer. And I think, if you can't offer either of those, you can go find the deal. Lots of people reach out to me and want to learn or want to work, and I don't know what to do with them, because they don't say, hey, I've got this and I want to help you do this. They just say, hey, I want to help. And that doesn't help a lot. So if you're looking to get started in real estate, find what you can do. Maybe you're great at money raising, or you're great at finding deals, or maybe you're great at the labor and all that, who knows? There's not a wrong way to get into it, but there's a right match for whoever.
Yeah. You got to bring value to the team, whether the value is your time or your money or your experience. So there's some people that could be great marketing people in some other industry. They can apply that to real estate. They bring that to the table. They work on the flyers that get mailed out, right? Or someone that's great at social media, then they help develop social media, and then that's their value to the team. Other people maybe bring capital, bring money. Other people, this is their job as full-time real estate, and they have time, but they don't have the capital. And so I think that's what you're trying to do is to assemble a team that has a good variety of those assets and skills, and that have a common strategy.
Absolutely. So you already mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I hear that a ton. Do you have any other favorite business or mindset books?
The other one is like a Cash Flow Quadrant, from Kiyosaki that came after that. So to me, that's a really good one. I think the One Thing from Gary Keller is good. And so there's some good reading lists out there. I think things. Let me see what else I have up here. I got Tax-Free Wealth. I've got Advanced Guide to Real Estate Investing. And then the 4-Hour Work Week from Tim Ferriss, who lives here in Austin now. So that's a good book as well.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of great books, especially that Rich Dad series. There's tons of great books there. You're going to like some more than others, but I think everybody should start with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then Cash Flow Quadrant's a great place to go right after that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what made me start thinking about, multiple streams of income, moving over to the investor side from the employee side. So that certainly helped, motivate me and to help me crystallize, a strategy of, financial freedom. Absolutely.
So Jeff, how can people get a hold of you and learn more about what you're doing, or how can they work with you right now?
Yeah, you bet. So you can go to the McKeeCapitalGroup.com. So it's MCKEE capitalgroup.com. And that's basically to help people get educated on real estate investing. So they can go to that website. And then in some cases, we have more deals than we have capital, but we want to help people develop those multiple streams of income to become limited partners in some of these deals.
Awesome. And you'd mentioned something about a book you're working on here?
Yeah. So early in April of 2021, you should be able to go to Amazon and look for a book called Bringing Value, Solving Problems, and Leaving a Legacy. So I have a chapter in this book about real estate investing, single family and multifamily. There's about 30 authors, but it's going to be, on Amazon. So Bringing Value, Solving Problems, and Leaving a Legacy is the title of the book.
Awesome. We'll have everybody look out for that book. And what's the best ways they can get a hold of you? Is it just the website, McKeeCapital.com?
Yeah, just go to the McKeeCapitalGroup.com, and then you'll have a contact form. You can reach out to me. And then what I typically do is set up, one-on-one calls with people, 15-minute, 30-minute calls just to get to know one another, understand strategy, see how I can help out, see if there's a good fit there. So that's the best way.
Awesome. And we'll put all that in the show notes for everybody here too. But McKeeCapitalGroup.com. Jeff, last question, probably most important question we have here. What's your favorite restaurant in Austin?
Yeah, our go-to here in South Austin is Matt's El Rancho. So just remember the knockout margaritas. There's a limit of 2. You can order the small bob or the large bob to start with. So some queso. So it's really good. And even though it's a Mexican, place that's been around since like 1954, we usually order like their black and red fish. So their food is really good. They have great outdoor patio seating. Even when it's cold, they'll have the heaters. And so it's a good, COVID friendly type restaurant. But yeah, Matt's El Rancho.
Awesome. Well, I have not been there. I should go check it out. I've heard it a bunch of times too. So absolutely will be on my list of places to go here soon.
Yeah. Great place on South Lamar.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on here today. Again, we will have all of Jeff's contact info in the show notes, and keep a lookout for his book on Amazon. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jordan.
All right. You have a great day.
All right. You too.